Monday night V8 Supercars Strength of Field race and the very first live broadcast on the iRacing Esports Network, a fantastic new platform for all your favorite iRacing broadcasters, including but not limited to RaceSpot TV, LSR TV, and of course, yours truly here at V8 Online. If you haven't already, be sure to go hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss a single second of the action. But tonight, we head to the Daytona of V8 Supercars racing. It's Watkins Glen International. This circuit always provides incredible pack racing at its very nature, with big elevation changes and some very long straights, which leads into some big overtaking opportunities, but even more so this season as we bypass the bus stop chicane and we bring in the boot section, which sees the drivers plummet into an incredibly tricky sequence of long, undulating corners. I'm Bo Albert. Alongside me tonight is not Zachary Hanlon, because apparently a birthday dinner is more important, but to make up for it, we've got two people joining me in the booth tonight, the always entertaining Corey Ott and the always memeable Cameron Dance. And in the director's booth, as always, is Mr. J.K. Kennedy, who'll be bringing you the live action. But Corey, it's Watkins Glen time once again in the official series, and so far this season we've had some remarkable strength of fields, so we know the quality of drivers is stronger than ever in this top split, but 21 laps and a 50% fuel restriction is sure to throw up some moments.
Exactly, as well, and also with the with there being no bus stop, there won't be any, there won't be any excuses of throwing it off into the sand. But with what is going to be full on, there is no stopping. Well, should just say this right now, but big sends will happen to the carousel because there is no bus stop there, so they'll be doing at least, I believe, 250 Ks with under-tired, under-braked, overpowered, under-aerodynamic cars. We're going to see 21 laps of amazing racing here tonight.
Absolutely, and it has been that way all season. Of course, we've had already one round at motorsport, which was so highly contested, weighing in at 4.5k as a strength of field. Then, of course, Mount Panorama, which was so interesting to watch as well. Unfortunately, weren't able to broadcast it, but watching that race, it went down to the wire once again. Then here, round number 3 at Watkins Glen, the championship is really starting to heat up at the moment, and it's very tight up the top. We've got Cameron Dance with us as well here tonight. Cam, how's the championship standings looking?
Yeah, the championship standings are looking actually quite interesting only after 2 rounds. Ironically, it's actually a Trans-Tasman Racing 1-2 at the moment, with Jared Philsell sitting on 486 points at the top, with his teammate Sam Blacklock sitting in second on 430. We then have in third Cooper Webster on 403 points, Brady Myers in fourth with 347, Brett Loxton rounding out the top 5 with 326, and then we go back to Thomas Hinds on 300 points. Joshua Rogers sitting in 7th, a little bit out of his normal place, but that's okay, and on 266 points for him. Michael Talian sits on 258th, 8th, and Michael Cracknell in 9th on 252, and Corey Preston rounding out the top 10 on 248.
Yep, so very interesting championship standings at the moment. 2 rounds in, 10 to go, and of course 4 drop rounds. Everything is to play for, but 2 is an important number because 2 is also the amount of qualifying laps they're going to get in qualifying right now. It's a very cool track temp, weighing in at 28 degrees, so plenty of grip out on circuit at the moment, and waiting for some of our first drivers to get a lap done. There is a lot of interesting names in here. Jared Philsell, Fortin Al-Nabi in his first online race for Trick Simsport, a move for him. Ian Ford is in car number 3, and he's joined by some new teammates as well in the form of Jamie McKnight, and also Cooper Webster making the jump over to ERT, Corey.
Exactly. A lot of big changes happening in the Australian and New Zealand community for teams at the moment, with Altus Esport starting up, and then also drivers heading to ERT, and especially Fortin and Arby going to Trick, with sadly Performance Simsport dying away with us. But I think tonight we'll see a lot of those drivers represent their new teams very well.
Yeah, that's definitely the case at the moment. Fortin Al-Nabi, Trick Simsports, first drive for him, and he currently goes to the top of the timesheets and will beat Jared Philsell, who can only manage P2 at the moment, but it is so close in your top few cars, with the top 6, all covered by less than 0.4 of a second at the moment. So it is incredibly close at the moment. Cam, there's so many drivers who are so competitive in this field. Who's your bet to take pole position here?
It's probably the most obvious, and we all know who's probably going to do it. It's going to be Philsell, but at the moment with Al-Nabi on top, pretty much almost a 10th clear, it's going to be anyone's guess as to actually who could possibly do it. I mean, you've got so many good drivers in this field. It's almost a Scops field in here, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see who's going to walk away with pole for this race.
Yeah, it definitely is. And of course, we know the tyres can deteriorate quite a lot from the first lap to the second lap. So Phil Sell is going to take that pole position away. He's going to have to pull something special out at the moment. But we have a massive grid here, which is fantastic to see. 31 cars in this top split, and it's split 3 times. So massive attendance, which is brilliant to see in this series. And currently 9 drivers still yet to set a lap time. So it's still a lot of movement yet to happen in this field, as we do keep our eyes on Forza Al Nabi at the moment, coming to the final few corners. Currently a pole sitter, and he's going to have to try and improve a little bit, but he's not going to be able to do it. Looks like he's going to bail on this lap, so we'll turn our attention now to Phil Sell. What is he going to be able to do in this fight for pole position? Current championship leader, got the #1 in his car. The confidence is high, and he wants redemption after what was a very rough Scops round for him last time out. And he's going to make his way through the final corner now and puts the power down. 45.6 to beat. Coming across the line, Jared Phil Sell. Is he going to be improved? It's Jared Phil Sell. Of course he can. And by 0.02 of a second, Corey, he jumps to P1.
Nice and tight up the top there by the looks, but is there anybody else on laps? I think Ian Ford is on a lap, so he might not. I think he might get the pole, but he might get close to a good result.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, Ian's still only on his first attempt at a lap, so he's waited a little bit later in the session to go and have his attempt. And by the looks of it, I don't think he's actually going to have enough time to get that second lap in, which is a little bit odd to see, Cameron, but still nonetheless a tactic you can use occasionally.
Yeah, he's looking like he's going to be marginal on getting that second lap in, but we'll have to see what happens. But it is probably something that he's comfortable with, either a first lap or possibly just trying to see what's going to happen on that first lap. Sort of get yourself into that race mode before heading qualifying your second. Make sure that you're not going to stuff at the start, and make sure that those cold tyres are going to be, we're going to be used to those cold tyres, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. We know how brutal they can be, and with the track temp, it's going to be very difficult to get these cars off the start line here today. But nonetheless, still a very nice opening lap for Ian Ford, but he won't get that second lap in, so that's going to be a very, very tough one for Ian Ford if there was any leftover pace in that ERT car as he goes through the S's at high speed. But looks like that is a lot of drivers now finishing their second lap. Jason Benz is still on a lap at the moment, of course. And this is a brand new team for him as well, of course, just announced today as well. So we'll see what he can do on debut for this new team. Of course, they announced there would be immediate effective. So Jason Benz, first ever appearance for this team, lines up 17th at the moment, but he'll make that 1 row higher and get into the top 15, Corey.
Yeah, good result there for Cross-Continental Racing, their name is. And well, I think that's everybody done with their laps.
Still a couple of drivers on a lap, actually, Corey. There's Dylan Carroll, who's on a lap at the moment. And unfortunately, it hasn't been the tidiest start to the lap for him. But nonetheless, still needs a time on the board, as do Scott Cislowski and Robert Gibbs. Gibbs is on the circuit. Cislowski is not. And unfortunately for Carroll, he's run off the circuit as well. So all of those drivers not going to get the most competitive lap in. That's qualifying done. And that is your grid order for 21 laps here at Watkins Glen, and it's going to be led away from Jared Phil Sell, who will start things off ahead of Forzen Al Nabi. Cooper Webster, for his ERT debut, is going to be the top ERT car ahead of Ryan O'Sullivan and Riley Blythe for your top 5. Brett Loxton is going to line up in P6 with Craig Jones and Ian Ford fielding out your top 8, with Jordan Ross and Wayne Burke, your row number 5.
Row number 6 is Brady Myers and Eric Galvez. Row number... if I can get rows right, row 7, Scott Larnay, Corey Preston. Row 8, Jason Bent, Steve Jansen. Row number 9, Thomas McMillan, Jacob Knight. And row number 10, rounding out the top 20, Griffin Gardner and Jamie McKnight.
In the 21st position, we have Blake Purdy, followed by Mitchell Sealake, all the way back in 22nd. The TTL driver in a very odd position, but he hasn't been in the seat too often, so he's not doing too bad. Just behind him is actually another TTL teammate, Ryan Harris, in 23rd, followed by Dominic Swatsky. 25th, we have Greg Sharp, followed by Marie Hushka. 27th is Brendan Jackson, and 28th is David Baxter. 29th, 30th, and 31st is Scott Sosowski, Robert Gibbs, and Dylan Carroll.
Well, there we go. It is quite the grid. 31 cars going to take on 21 laps here at Watkins Glen. And there is still plenty to play for. The championship is young and anyone can still walk away with this result at the end of the season. But for now, our focus will turn to this start, which is going to be so difficult. And there are opportunities to get moves done very early on. Hard braking zone for turn number 1 as the revs rise. And the green flag waves, and we are away for round number 3, and it's going to be a fantastic start for Jared Filsell and also Cooper Webster, who launches into P number 2, potentially Forza Nabi, only luckily holding on to that position heading into turn 1. 3 wide in the background involving one of the CMR cars. He has Ian Ford on the outside as well. It's like all fired away now through the uphill S's, which is such a high-speed section. Contact made. Ian Ford lucky to hold on to position there, and he's lucky to keep it out of the wall. As we go through, yes, there's one TTL car in the wall. I think that might have been Scott Larnack. And now we fire away down this long back straight. No bus stop chicane. So it's full throttle all the way to the long carousel complex, which is so high speed. Moves can be made and moves can be held onto around the outside, firing it at high speed, apexing at about 150 kilometers an hour, which is such high speeds for these V8 Supercars. But amazingly, Cameron, 31 V8 Supercars, we've got through the first half a lap.
Yeah, we have. Everybody's done a fantastic job at actually making their way through the first half of the lap in a clean fashion. A couple of cars involved with minor moments, and it's on for the lead at the moment between Forzan Al-Nabi and Jared Filsell.
Yeah, absolutely is. Forzan had a bit of a look there, didn't he, into that long right-hander. And Forzan might know that Filsell is incredibly strong later in the run and needs to get the move done nice and early. And of course, we know how confident Filsell can be once he builds up a little bit of a margin. But sliding on the exit there, confidence is not under his right foot right now as Forzan with a big dive, just trying to close in any little bit of margin just to let Filsell know he is there. But for your top few runners, it is all incredibly clean at the moment. A bit of a gap from Brett Loxton and Craig Jones for a second train. And in the background, we've got one car almost in the wall as they're trying a move there. Very, very close. McMillan's got damage to the front of his car. Only just holding up Steve Anderson at the moment. So all incredibly close. And look at this move as we have the CMR car almost around. Lucky not to collect anyone else. Very awkward rejoin, but nonetheless, everyone's done fantastic. But look at it as we go down the front straight. Don't go full wide. Oh, they're going to do it anyway. Turn 1, hard braking zone, cold tires, recipe for disaster as they fire it in. And amazingly, once again, they hold onto it, Corey. This is fantastic stuff.
We're not even halfway through or near the end of the race yet, and they're still acting like it is, but look at them all go. Brady Mice, Thomas McMillan both have damage from that little contact coming out of the boot, but up the front, it's still line of stern, I think, for the top 8 or 9 places at the moment, but there's a little move happening down the back. No, there isn't, sorry. So it was a fire through the carousel for the second time. No contact, a little bit of gap between everyone else, but wow.
Yeah, so we'll turn our attention a little bit further forward with McMillan. He was trying to put some pressure back onto Cielak, who did get that position back on McMillan. So these two swapping and changing just a little bit, but McMillan would not be helped by that damage on the front of his car. And also, I think that's one of the drivers in front as well has damage to the front of his car as well. I think that's Brady Myers. So a lot of damage to a lot of cars at the moment, which is not what you want to see. So unfortunately, that's going to be hurting their straight line quite a lot there, Cam.
Yeah, it will be. That damage has just sort of been a constant effect from guys checking up just on that first lap, unfortunately. So they're going to have to deal with that damage throughout this entire race, and although it's going to affect their straight line stability, if they can manage it well, they'll actually not do too bad. So we'll see what happens to those drivers with damage, but at the moment it's looking like everybody's sorting themselves out. A couple of guys still fighting for position down further in the back of the pack, but for the moment it's line of stern at the front.
It absolutely is, and these top 3 beginning to perform a little bit of a breakaway. Filsell, El-Nabi and O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan has got past Cooper Webster, his brand new teammate at ERT. And just beginning to hook onto the back of Forzan Al-Nabi at the moment. A very nice run out of turn number 1 as well. And turn number 1 is so crucial to lap time and getting an overtake here, because it sets you run all the way up this hill. As you can see, where the slipstream is so powerful. So that one corner, that one exit is so vital to getting a move done. And you can see O'Sullivan closing and closing and closing. Not quite enough off the throttle, decided to save a little bit of fuel and not push the issue yet. You could see there just how easy it could be done as Scott Larnack does perform a move on Jason Benz.
Exactly. And back to the point, Bo, turn 1 being a very important corner, as you see there. Saw that before. Ryan O'Sullivan was in the slipstream of Ford and Nabi, and he could have got it done, but this is not lap 20 of 21. No need to do any dive bomb moves yet. But at the back, I think Loxton and Ford are close, but not a big battle going on there at the moment.
No, not at the moment, but Ian Ford, of course, I think he'd be a little bit disappointed with this qualifying effort, and I'm sure he would have liked that second lap, of course. We know how quick he can be, but another driver that can be very quick is Corey Preston on his day. And of course, just recently signed up for Cross Continental Motorsports. We've seen him for so long in his own team doing his own thing, which he was very successful at doing. Of course, working with his own setups and doing all the hard work himself. But now with a team around him, you know, there's big potential for Corey Preston to find himself up, you know, a couple positions from where he would normally be. And at the moment, that driver in front that he needs to get past is Wayne Burke, and he's been looking extremely racy at the moment. And it just takes one little mistake for Wayne Burke, for Jordan Ross, sorry, and that could potentially be Corey Preston through, Cam.
Yeah, absolutely. This track is all about keeping that momentum up, making sure you can be as fast as possible, especially through the high-speed stuff, because if you can't keep that momentum up, then you're going to suffer. And with, like you said, Corey joining this new team, it's going to be very interesting. I've just about seen someone end up in the wall getting up through the S's. That was very, like, I'm not exactly sure who it was, but I think it was one of the Continental Motorsport cars. But regardless, as I was saying, Corey is with this new team now, and it's going to be very interesting to see how he actually goes and what sort of improvements he can possibly find in his abilities and pace.
Last time around was lap number 3, and the fastest driver on track was position number 2, Forzen El Nabi, beginning to apply the pressure back onto Jared Filsell. Filsell did have that little margin at the start, but El Nabi done a fantastic job using the slipstream where he needs to. And you can see there just moving out a little bit, saying, hello, Mr. Filsell. I know you've won the Scops Championship, and I am here to take that number 1 away from you. And El Nabi, a driver that's really been on form of late, getting a lot of strong results in a lot of races, and you can see they're taking an aggressive early apex into this very long left-hander, and he doesn't need to do too much of that. I think what he needs to do now is either choose which way he wants to go about this, whether he wants to fuel save or whether he potentially wants to try and make a move early on and bolt Corey.
And exactly as well, if he does do a bolting move, and that gives the opportunity for Fuel Cell to jump him into stop so he can save fuel. But don't forget, behind El Nabi are 3 ERT cars behind him, so it is top 5 full of big names at the moment. Oh, I think O'Sullivan a little slide coming out of turn 1 there.
Yeah, potentially. Of course, I know from previous experience that ERT like to set the cars up extremely loose on corner exits sometimes, which can catch you out if you're not paying 100% attention. So that could be just paying a little bit of a weakness at the moment in these cooler conditions for O'Sullivan, just having to fight it a little bit more, but no moves to be done from these top few drivers at the moment. One driver that is trying to make a move at the moment is Corey Preston, going to duck to the inside of Jordan Ross now, and has almost an overlap, not able to do much with it though, as they fire the way in. One driver that did get an overlap and get the job done was Mitchell Selak, who continues to charge his way through the field, but Eric Galvez not going to give him too much room. Almost thought about fighting it back on the exit, and so close through this long left-hander. Galvez has no interest at all in letting that position go, Cameron.
Yeah, no, Galvez has definitely been in a good little battle with Selak for the past several laps, as Loxton has currently got himself a bit of a battle.
Yep, he does. He's having a little bit of a look there up the inside of Riley Blythe. Not able to do anything with it this time around, however, but Riley Blythe is the third in an ERT car train, and in fact I would not want to be Brett Loxton, because he is the only driver at the moment stopping 4 ERT cars in a row. But Loxton definitely has a very strong pace at the moment. We've seen him be so quick in officials over the last few races. It's been an incredible rise for him, and a very nice run through that final corner, whereas Riley Blythe just was a little bit unsettled on turn-in, which is going to hurt his exit. Could not get the power on as early as he wanted, but I think Loxton's just going to save him his stuff here for the corner exit. You can see very nice on the brakes there into turn number 1. Fires the exit. Blythe a little bit wide. Loxton, such a good exit. He's almost side by side through the S's. This is potentially not what he wants, because now he's had to scrub off way more speed by having to hold the inside line, and he's not got as good of a slipstream now, and this is where he becomes vulnerable to Ian Ford, Corey.
Exactly as well, and too wide to the S's this early is not a good thing, and especially in these V8 Supercars, it's basically near impossible to do, but Loxton having a little look saying, hello, I'm still here, but wow, three-way battle for 5th at the moment. This is very interesting.
It certainly is. And all these drivers at the moment are fighting very hard. Another driver who's alongside is Griffin Gardner up the inside there of Steve Jansen. And they're going to hold it around the outside through the carousel, which you can do, of course, very cambered. And Jansen manages to give himself the inside, this left-hander, which is once again cambered, so you can hold it around the outside, but it's not as banked. So as you can see there, Griffin Gardner not able to hold on to the speed he would potentially like, and does in fact lose that spot, or does not gain that spot from Steve Jansen. Was trying to do. But once again, our race lead just keeping very, very close at the moment. Phil Sell not able to gap El Nabi in the way that he would like. And different driving lines I'm seeing here at the moment, Cam. El Nabi really likes to drive the car very early to the apex.
Yeah, definitely does. It's very, very interesting watching these two completely different driving styles and completely different drivers, as well as completely different setups, work with their drivers and see who's got the better edge. Phil Sell's definitely better on the exit, but El Nabi's very strong on the brakes. So if El Nabi can work on getting a good exit, if he can get alongside, he should be able to make a move fairly easily.
Yeah, he probably could, and it's still on at the moment for P number 5 as Loxton so late on the brakes, lucky to not make contact with the back of the ERT car, and you can see they lost so much speed. Ian Ford says, hello, that's a nice position you've got there, mind if I take it, job done. And he can now complete that 4 ERT cars in a row. So a big ERT presence at the moment in this race. And Ian Ford, from a very dodgy qualifying for his perspective, now finds himself in a P number 6. Next target, Riley Blythe. Corey?
Yep, and well, Loxton would, I think Loxton would like to grab his place back, but at the moment, it's now what is a 5-car, I believe a 4-car train, sorry, of ERT cars, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And Loxton, I think, would like to get into that train again, but guess who's behind him? It's Craig Jones, who's trying his hardest to get another place.
Yep, Craig Jones doing a very strong performance at the moment, and did actually end up qualifying in 7th place, finds himself down in 8th at the moment, but another strong performance for those CMR cars, as we're just having a little bit of a look further down the field, as once again there's this battle pack going on with Mitchell Sealak, who is on a charge at the moment. Next target for him is Jason Bentz, and just having a look into every apex at the moment, just trying to find a way past. And Sealak is a driver we probably don't see as much as we used to, unfortunately, but an incredibly strong driver on his day, Cameron, as you would know, as being a teammate of his at TTL. But he's in a very tough spot at the moment, 1 car behind, 1 car in front.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting what Sealak's done. He's been out of the seat for a bit of time, but he's definitely able to get back in this car and drive it quite well at the moment. He's a little bit of oversteer on the exit.
Yep, just a little bit. Whilst that was all happening, we did have Steve Jansen in a very interesting fight, trying to find a way past Griffin Gardner, but not able to do it. But maybe he can on this next time around, as we have the driver of Steve Jansen firing very aggressively in turn number 1, and it's going to be the same situation potentially. He gets a slightly worse exit than he would have liked. That gives the incentive now to Jacob Knight up the hill, which is such a high-speed section, but unfortunately Jacob Knight just got a little bit of damage on the Jeff Gordon replica car. That's just killing him just a little bit, not able to make up the time he would potentially like, and just allows Steve Jansen a little bit more breathing room where he potentially could have very well lost that position. But we will turn our attention once again up front, because Cam, Brett Loxton is not having an easy race at the moment. He's constantly finding himself in a fight, and currently getting very, very aggressive with Ian Ford and Craig Jones.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and Ford with a big sideways moment there, getting right out sideways. That was very lucky, but now Loxton's going to go on the attack. He's going to try and possibly look up the inside of Ian Ford here. He's going to have to be careful though, because he's going to have to try and defend Craig Jones, but at the moment, this battle's going all off, and they've also got Riley Blythe just ahead of them, so it's going to be a 4-way fight at this rate for 5th place.
Very well could be, and just shows how hard fought this championship is. It's lap 8 of 21. Not even, well, we're only just past the 33% mark of this race, and they're fighting and absolutely knocking the bumpers off each other's cars at the moment, which is fantastic to see, as Loxton almost bumps the wall there, or get onto the grass, but strategy is becoming a critical point now for 2 of our drivers, Phil Sell and Ian Ford. Both dive into the pits, lead relinquished now to Forzen Al Nabi. So we do have a 50% fuel restriction in this race, Corey, and that's really forcing the drivers to think on their toes. But lap number 8 for a pit stop, that's a little early, don't you think?
Well, it could also mean that might be why El Nabi was attacking, because was fuel cell saving fuel? Because if that is it, then that means that El Nabi will have to be on the back foot to try and get the lead back. But at the moment, Loxton and Jones are looking like they could battle again, but maybe Wayne Burke is behind there as well. Could be a 3-car train here for a position 5 shortly.
Yeah, very well could be at the moment. Position number 5 seems to be very hard forward over tonight. But Jared Filsell and Ian Ford both resume in very, very clean air at the moment, well away from the back marker drivers at the moment. And one of those drivers that is a little bit further down than he would have liked is Greg Sharp, and he's getting extremely close to the back of Dylan Carroll at the moment. But with still lots of fights still happening on track at the moment, Cameron, and a lot of drivers looking like they're beginning to struggle with tyres a little bit.
Yeah, with 9 laps in, these tyres will start to be hurting a little bit, as I've just seen Ciolak go straight up the inside of Jason Benz for the 21st position. So very good move there to move up into another position.
So we'll have a look at our race leaders now, which includes Cooper Webster, Ryan O'Sullivan, and current race leader Forzen Al Nabi. Will Forzen react to Jared Filsell? Of course he will. He dives in the pit lane. So will Ryan O'Sullivan and Cooper Webster. Well, I think just about all the ERT cars that aren't Ian Ford are going to dive in. One driver is electing to stay out though at the moment, and I'm just trying to figure out who that is at the moment. But they're going to go one more time around. That's Wayne Burke, so he's going to get that lap led. But the interesting thing now is how do the pit stop times stack up for our race leaders? Of course, Jared Filsell, 16.2 seconds. He was held stationary in pit lane, and that was one of the quicker times. Only Brady Myers was quicker, 15.7 seconds. So for Forzen Al Nabi, there is the opportunity, if he's willing to fuel save just a little bit, to really make up some time in this pit stop. And he is away off the jacks. Filsell now firing his way into turn number 1. Of course, Al Nabi can shortcut this corner. It's going to be incredibly tight on the exit. Filsell is going to have the better speed, but it looks like change of lead. Forzen Al Nabi, your race leader, but he has to be so careful at this point. Of course, the tyres aren't up to complete pressure yet, which means there's more rolling resistance. They're slower, and it means that Jared Filsell is going to have much better run. They're defending so heavily. Lucky not to get pit maneuvered for a second there. Filsell pushing him all the way to the white line around the outside. Contact's made in a straight line, and it's going to be Filsell around the outside, somehow getting the job done on Forzen Al Nabi. Fantastic racing there, Corey.
Wow, that's it's not the last lap yet, is it? But wow, that's amazing. Nice and clean. El Nabi looks for it. He might get it back if he gets a run on the inside. Fuel cells on the outside, they're still side by side. Oh, and that's cleared. Fuel cells cleared. El Nabi. Oh, he's looking. Oh no, doesn't go for it through the toe section of the boot, but O'Sullivan is saying, hello boys, how's it going? As they now come down the short chute into the heel section of the course.
Absolutely, and look at this, they're all having to defend from one another. Fantastic fighting at the moment. Now Nabi really trying to apply pressure to Jared Filsell. We've seen it a lot of times. He likes to do a little dive up the inside here, does it once again, but to no avail, doesn't get the job done or even get anywhere near alongside Jared Filsell. So Filsell very lucky to hold on to that. Almost got overcut there from Al Nabi, who I'm just trying to check the numbers at the moment. Only 0.3 quicker in the actual pit stop itself. So Al Nabi really had a fantastic outlap there to really put himself in that position there. But it is now this top 3 across the start-finish line. And like you mentioned, Corey, Ryan O'Sullivan is well and truly in this fight now. And O'Sullivan did fall back a little bit at the start of this race here, Cameron. But with this second chance of getting potentially a very strong second place or even a win if something were to happen to Jared Filsell out front at the moment, this is a good opportunity for O'Sullivan at the moment.
Yeah, it absolutely is. O'Sullivan's just sitting back at the moment in 3rd place, just looking at these two going. If you can fight a little bit harder, they'll be happy to take both your positions, if not one. So we'll have to see what happens, especially with how his tyres are actually younger than Filsell's, as well as Al Nabi's are actually younger. So we'll have to see what happens. I'm not sure if this undercut that Filsell was thinking of is going to work or not. But we'll have to see.
Sorry to cut across. We do have a car in the wall, and that's going to be the driver Eric Galvez through the S's. And had a big moment, big slide, and a big contact into the wall, big damage to the Red Bull racing car. Unfortunately, that is going to be day done for the number 8 car. A big moment, but so easy to do through their camera.
Yeah, it's very, very easy to do it there. It's a difficult car to drive, and this track can bite sometimes, so really unfortunate there, but at the end of the day, that is racing. That can happen sometimes if you're not concentrated enough.
Absolutely. One driver that's still going out in the race lead at the moment is Wayne Burke. So he's doing an extremely long run at the start of this race and trying to make some positions that way, which is an interesting tactic, but nonetheless currently leading laps out front. But Corey, this top 3 at the moment is so close to the moment, but El Nabi has a very good shot to really put Phil Sell under the pump here and really put some pressure on. But where do you think that the Trick Sim Sport car might have a chance of getting past the Trans-Tasman Racing Commodore?
Well, at the moment, the way they two are going into turn 1, they're both snaking. They know that slipstream will play a big factor in this race. We're now on lap 12 of the 21 lap event, so we've got 10 laps to go. So if Falcons can get it right, I think the best opportunity will be going into the carousel. So that is turn 4, because you'd have turn 5, because you have a massive slipstream from the end of the exit of turn 1 all the way through the S's into carousel. But O'Sullivan is there, so I'm not going to count out O'Sullivan yet. So that top 3 is in a massive, basically all have a big chance of winning this race.
Yeah, absolutely. All of them are very close to one another, and it could be anyone's game at the moment. Still 2 drivers yet to pit at the moment, which is Wayne Burke and Marie Hrushka. And they're currently running in P number 1 and number 2, of course, without that pit stop. But how much longer are they going to go? Surely they've got to be in at this lap, because right now they're lapping on average 1 second of the lap off their race leaders, and most drivers are within that range as well. So right now, all they're doing is losing time and also losing laps on the fresher rubber, Cameron.
Yeah, absolutely. Those older tyres will definitely be hurting, but we'll have to see what happens, as it's looking like Burke does come into pit lane actually, so he'll be in for some new tyres and some fuel, and we'll see how well this overcut actually works. Is he's gone to pretty much halfway distance, or just over halfway distance on those tyres, so he'll have the freshest tyres out of the entire field, as well as Shrushka. So it'll be very, very interesting to see where these two come out at the end of the race in relation to everybody else.
Absolutely, our race leaders are coming through the final corner. No changes this time around, but still locked together. This top 3 putting on an absolute driving clinic here at the moment across the start-finish line. And it's still very small margins between all these drivers, under 0.7 of a second covering these 3 as they fire their way through turn number 1. Not the best exit for Phil Sell, but not bad enough for Forza and El Nabi to have any chance into the carousel. But El Nabi will be seeing that, and just seeing Phil Sell sliding around a little bit. All the tyres close to the wall as well for Phil Sell. Very lucky not to knock a mirror or something off of that Commodore, but nonetheless, leading once again. Phil Sell been in this position so many times, but not often does he have this kind of pressure applied to him, as Forza and El Nabi really using the slipstream and working it very well. And I think O'Sullivan, like you mentioned, Corey, just happy to sit in the slipstream and just hold on to this in case anything would happen. But Craig Jones fires it up the inside of Wayne Burke and somehow gets the move done. That was close quarters racing's, absolutely. But Wayne Burke, of course, does have that new tyres, so a big grip advantage at the moment for Burke, almost into the back of the CMR car. But for Cameron, this is going to be very, very interesting, isn't it, to see how Wayne Burke goes. But, oh, sorry, we do have to cut across, because Jared Phil Sell almost lost the lead of the race there, because Cameron, El Nabi is putting on so much pressure right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Those newer tyres are starting to be taking their effect, and also you have to remember that O'Sullivan's just been sitting behind, so he's probably actually got better tyres than the two in front of him. So this could possibly be O'Sullivan's race to win and El Nabi and Phil Sell's race to lose.
Yeah, very well it could be, as Phil Sell touches the grass on turn, and that is not what you want to be doing at all, but actually manages to pull up a little bit of a margin there to El Nabi just behind. So safe for now, but for how much longer for Phil Sell, as El Nabi does a little bit of lawn mowing himself and does not get a great exit, has to go slightly defensive against Ryan O'Sullivan. But across the start-finish line now, look how close El Nabi is, really trying to put on some pressure. And with 8 laps to go, there is still time on his side, but he also has to pick and choose his moments quite well. Of course, there is still a chance that if El Nabi were to get past, Phil Sell could just as easily find another way past. We saw how confident he is in overtaking. We saw that show at motorsport, but at the moment, the biggest issue for El Nabi is driving Ryan O'Sullivan, ducking and weaving down the straight. O'Sullivan going to elect for the outside, but does back out, saves a little bit of fuel as well. And that's going to be a bit of an issue for O'Sullivan. He is fuel saving quite a lot. And for Corey, this is a second less than the pit stop for O'Sullivan. He might not be able to make it on to the end on fuel at the moment.
Exactly as well, and up through the S's area, he got a bit of a run on. Oh, El Nabi nearly lose it on the grass there, but he had a run on El Nabi going through up the S's. So, and see that El Nabi's getting pretty close to the rear bumper of fuel cell. So, but yeah, as you said before, O'Sullivan, he might not make it to the end of the race with the pit stop time he had. So, but I think that might be why he's laying back off this battle for the lead, or off the curb he'll lose it. But yeah. Could we see O'Sullivan run out of fuel at the end?
Well, we have seen lots of drama like that happen in previous rounds of the championship. Of course, you think back to last season, Sam Blacklock and that controversial finish across the start-finish line with Michael Taliancic at Sebring, and we've seen it happen before. Could it potentially happen again to Ryan O'Sullivan? But at the moment, he's only P number 3, not any drivers too close behind. The next driver behind is Ian Ford, who has jumped a lot of his ERT compatriots in that pit stop phase. Of course, now finds himself ahead of Cooper Webster for Ian Ford. A really nice recovery drive in the end, with still 7 laps to go if anything were to happen to this top 3, who make their way up the uphill S's once again. And it's still going to be, as it was for the last few laps, no one really close enough at the moment to make any moves. So we'll wait and see how this goes as time slowly begins to tick down. But if you're in his position here at the moment, Cameron, what would you want to be doing if you're Forzen El Nabi? Of course, he has newer tyres. He knows he has the slipstream advantage down this long straight. But as I mentioned before, if he gets the job done, in the next lap or so, he still has to defend from fuel cell for the next few laps.
Yeah, it's a very, very hard task. I've been in Forzen's situation before. I actually was at motorsport in Scops, so it was a very, very difficult situation to be in. He's got to make sure that he tries and takes advantage of his tyres as much as possible, but he doesn't want to burn them up too quickly or he'll be a sitting duck later on. So if he does want to get past, he's got to think about it and do it calculatively. Otherwise, it's going to not end too well. But he has a look there, just didn't quite manage to get it done, but he'll sit behind and we'll have to... This move's going to come at some stage, and when it is, I'm not exactly sure, but he's definitely very good under brakes, and it'll happen up the inside of one of these corners.
Yeah, he's definitely not afraid to have a bit of a look into a corner, is he, at all? Forzen El Nabi really trying to find any way he can past the number 1 car at the moment, but no opportunities are looking too obvious at the moment. Fuel cell just didn't quite meet the apex through that final corner, going to compromise his exit just a little bit. El Nabi saw that, not close enough to have a big dive just about yet. If it was the last lap, maybe he would. You can see he's just testing how late he can brake, and that was just about the limit there, I think, for El Nabi. So close to the back bumper of the Trans-Tasman racing car. And that's what he has to do at the moment, isn't it, Corey? He has to try and figure out the limits, where he can brake, where is too far, before the final lap, when he does have to have one final crack at it.
Exactly as well. It's just he's all about testing for that final lap. He's trying to get as close as he can, have enough fuel for that lap, and test the braking limits of his car, because at the moment O'Sullivan's just pulling. He's going away from that lead pack of 2. He just went a bit wide to the carousel, so I think O'Sullivan, give him a couple laps and he might be out of this race for the lead.
Oh, big dive at the moment from Scott Larnack up the inside of Jason Benz. Fantastic run down that long straight, and was able to get the move just about done, but Benz is going to come back around the outside using the camber of the track brilliantly, and he does get that move done just about in contact with Larnack. Larnack trying to hold her around the outside there and almost was able to hold on to it, but Benz just covers the inside now into this long left-hander. And for Larnack, this is an interesting position to be in, as you see behind Corey Preston, almost able to get that move done, almost in the back there, but a great exit now through the boot section, and Larnack gonna have a little bit of a look onto Benz. It's this tough braking zone, not able to do anything with it at the moment. But Corey, this is a very tough fight at the moment for P number 11 at the moment, but Ben's doing a very great job to hold on to it.
Exactly as well. He's got his teammate and Ciolak behind him, and then you've got McKnight. Ciolak is behind that battle with McKnight, trying to get close to the TTL driver as he just loses it out of the second last corner. But what a great fight. It's a 3-car train, all of them wanting P11. But this is lap 17, and the draft was going to play a big factor here in the next few laps.
Yep, absolutely. Time is beginning to run out, and Scott Larnack almost running out of road as well, using a bit of a grass to compensate, and that's going to hurt his exit quite a lot here as we run up the hill. Corey Preston with a much better over speed on the uphill section, and almost into the wall as well for Corey Preston. That would have hurt his spot just a little bit, but Ian Ford and Cooper Webster going at it as well. The two ERT drivers swapping spots twice in the space of a single corner. Great racing for those two, as Webster now gets ahead of his brand new teammate, so really trying to prove what he can into that. But we also have Selak in a big battle at the moment, Cameron.
Selak side by side currently with McKnight. He's going to be looking up the inside, not quite. McKnight managed to get it done, but McKnight runs wide, and Selak's going to move straight back up the inside. But now McKnight's going to have the inside, and big slide for Selak, and he's in the fin.
Disaster for Mitchell. Selak turns it around and has to get it back going in the right direction once again, but finds himself now all the way down to position 18. It's got a lot worse, as almost into the back of him is, I think it's Thomas McMillan. Lucky not to run into him there, almost unsighted, as McMillan was right behind his teammate Scott Zaslowski, and just about saw Selak in the last section, and Selak's going to have to try and come back at McMillan once again. Now, almost with an overlap, but if he's brave on the brakes, he can make this work, and indeed he is up the inside. Job done for Mitchell Selak, making yet another overtake, as he has done so many times this races, but he still has one more driver to get past if he wants any chance at redeeming what he almost had after that little bit of a spin, and that is the driver of Scott Zaslowski just in front, but that will have to come in the next few laps.
Exactly, and sorry about that, but now McKnight and Preston are going at it. Oh, Preston down the inside, nearly hits McKnight through turn 1. So Preston still in a battle for P13 now it is. So the race has not stopped.
Well, Jordan Ross is in a bit of a fight at the moment, isn't he? He's got Riley Blythe for company and around the outside of the carousel. So hard to do, but Jordan Ross trying to pull it off at the moment and using the camber of the road quite well, and Riley Blythe on the exit says no way through. Job done, as Cooper Webster and Ian Ford once again exchanging positions. No love lost for the ERT teammates, as Ian Ford up the inside, Webster around the outside, and very lucky to hold on to it, but crossover, potentially Cooper Webster losing the exit, almost running to the side of Ian Ford and almost turning around. Very close quarter stuff indeed, but also Cameron, at the moment, your race lead down to just 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, Forzan and Jared Filsell still going at it. They've been like this for the past 18 laps. You can't separate these two, and Forzan's been getting slightly closer and closer every single lap for the past 5 laps, so could see a move definitely on at some stages. Jared trying to use every inch of the road to try and get maximum exit speed. So we'll have to see what happens, but possibly Forzan has burnt his tyres up a little bit too early here.
Yep, very potentially he could have. Of course, we saw how many little half looks, how many little dives he has tried in the last few laps. And also look at Ryan O'Sullivan in the background. He's dropped off quite a lot now, in the form of 1.7 seconds behind El Nami. So he's really struggling and would definitely be conserving at the moment. Of course, he does have a nice margin back to Ian Ford and Cooper Webster, the ERT teammates, who continue just to knock ERT panels off of each other's cars. But no way through, I don't think, on this lap for Cooper Webster. Ian Ford built a little bit of a margin there, and also a bit of drama happening with Jacob Knight losing a few spots down the front straight as well. So Knight not having the best corner there, and loses quite a few spots, including to Greg Sharp and Brendan Jackson in the Velocity Sim Racing car. So a lot of battles happening around this track. Watkins Glen always finds a way to turn it on. But we'll keep our focus with these top 2 cars at the moment, as El Nabi continues to hound the back of Jared Filsell, Corey.
Exactly as well, and also El Nabi's carrying the brake through the corner as Filsell was on the brake and then off it, but El Nabi was still on the brake for at least another 50, maybe 25 meters through the corner. But I think El Nabi at the moment is sort of struggling to keep up with Filsell and might not be able to do a run here again. He pokes out coming out of the boot, so El Nabi at the moment, he's in a position to win, but are his tyres up to it?
Yeah, that's definitely a very good question, but we have seen Forza El Nabi in previous races when he does have a chance to getting a position in the dying laps. He's always a driver to give it a crack, always willing to try something a little bit different, no matter the odds of success of it working out. But regardless, 2 laps to go now. The adrenaline kicking up just a little bit as we head to just under 8 kilometers left here at Watkins Glen International. The boot layout, we've seen it as the cup layout so many times, but the boot layout has definitely provided a lot of action here today as they make their way up the hill for the penultimate time. Al Nabi continuing just to get a little bit of time, but not quite close enough. As the ERT cars continue to go side by side through the S's, they have to be so careful here as Webster and Ford through the S's. Webster almost into the wall there. That's given the run now to Wayne Burke. Almost contact between those two as well. These two ERT cars absolutely killing each other's races at the moment. Wayne Burke gonna think about around the outside, decides to back out, and he might just wait until the final lap when it's all to play for. Of course, this battling has brought Craig Jones and Brett Loxton into this as well, but look at Burke. He's going to try once again on Webster into the grass. Contact just about made. Wayne Burke goes around. Craig Jones picks up the pieces. Webster loses a spot as well. Loxton going to try and take advantage as well, but Wayne Burke, one of your big losers in this battle pack at the moment, is a race lead down to 2.5 tenths, and Al Nabi continuing to apply the blowtorch late on the brakes, trying to hound the back of Jared Philsell with Cameron.
Yeah, he's starting to get to that stage of desperation. He's trying to look at every single gap he possibly can. He knows he can do it. He knows that the tyres are still there, but it's just a matter of getting that exit and getting the job done.
On the grass just a little bit there for Jared Philsell as he works his way around the final corner for the penultimate time. Still once more to pull it off, to hold off a charging Ford Al Nabi, who is throwing everything he's got on debut in the Trick Sim sports car. It's a very nice looking car, but I think Forzen would think it would look a little bit nicer on that top step of the podium, but not close enough in a turn number 1 is going to hurt him. He needed to get a much better exit than Philsell there, which he did do, but not enough. He wasn't close enough to pick up all the pieces he needed. Gap stands at 4 tenths of a second. This is going to have to come from the boot section, Corey.
Exactly. He just hasn't got that run through the S's. He was a bit.
Oh, we do have Cooper Webster stopped on circuit. Lots of damage to the number 11 car as well. And that was the result of being turned by Craig Jones. I think that was out of turn number 1. And a really, really unfortunate little incident there for all those drivers. And Cooper Webster getting the worst of it, losing a bunch of spots. And that is a horrible way there to end his debut on broadcast for ERT. He was running so well fighting with Ian Ford, but we will turn our attention back up front. It's Jared Philsell and Forzen Al Nabi. Philsell is left a little bit in reserve in the tyres, still a little bit more grip left in those Dunlops. And even though Forzen Al Nabi does have 1 lap fresher tyres, time is running out. The corners are running out, and so are the opportunities. Al Nabi dives it to the inside with just 4 corners to go. Not close enough. 3.5 tenths of a second. Not close enough. Up the inside once again, early apex, sorry. Trying to close up those little margins, just anything to get a bit of a run on Philsell out of this final corner. But once again, the number 1 on his car, position number 1 at the moment, and with just 1 corner to go, Jared Philsell rounds the final corner and is going to take out round number 3 with a big slide out of the final corner. Here's your winner from Forzen Al Nabi. A fantastic display from those drivers, and Ryan O'Sullivan coughing and spluttering across the line. He was in fact tight on fuel, but he will get P number 3 on the podium. Ian Ford will come P4, and it's going to be a last lap pass for P number 5, and Wayne Burke gets that, and he gets a bump as well from Brett Loxton. A lot of hard fighting, tempers can flare, but that was a fantastic race, Corey.
Exactly, all for the lead, all for down in the pack as well, but I think it's all calmed down now as Cooper Webster just drops down the orders there after his incident he had with Cooper Jones, Craig Jones, sorry if I get the names right. So
a bit of a battle pack happening at the moment.
It's going to be 3-1
Contact made. That was a drag race to the line there. Jacob Nye was one of the drivers involved in that, I think. Oh, sorry, no. But it was a very, very close race as they all scrapped across the start line. Cooper Webster only, tried to hold on to that position number 20, and he did by only the smallest of margins. I think that just about sums up the race, Cameron. It was close from start to finish.
Yeah, that was a heck of a race. All sorts going on, massive battle packs throughout the field, ranging from for the win all the way down to the back of the field. Absolutely awesome race. This track absolutely turns it on every time.
Jared Filsell was your winner after 38 minutes and 21 laps here at Watkins Glen. A fantastic result for him. Farzan Nabi gave it everything he had, but it wasn't just enough in the end. Ryan O'Sullivan for P number 3 ahead of his ERT teammate Ian Ford, and Wayne Burt capitalizes for P number 5 on some last lap dramas, which included Brett Loxton and Craig Jones, who come home P6 and number 7. Riley Blythe for P number 8 with Jordan Ross and Scott Larnack, your top 10.
11th place is Jason Bentz. 12th place is Corey Preston. 13th is Jacob McKnight. 14th is Griffin Gardner. 15th is Steve Jansen. 16th position is Brady Myers. 17th, coming from 29th position, is Scott Zizowski. 18th is Michael Ciolak. 19th is Maria Kushka. And rounding out the top 20 is Cooper Webster.
In 21st, we have Greg Sharp, followed by Brendan Jackson in 22nd. 23rd, we'll go to Dominic Swartzky, followed by Dylan Carroll in 24th. 25th, we'll go to Ryan Harris and Jacob Knight in 26th. 27th and 28th, we'll go to Thomas McMillan and David Baxter, respectively. And rounding out the field will be Eric Galvez, Blake Purdy, and Robert Gibbs.
Well, there we go. 21 laps at Watkins Glen, and what a show it provided once again. It was a hard-fought race. So many battles happening from start to finish, but in the end, it would be a fantastic win for Jared Filsell. And once again, we'll have to wait and see how this affects our championship results at the end of the week, but you will catch that with our round 4 broadcast, which will kick off from Laguna Seca. But to tie you over until then, next week, we do have a completely filled week, which includes the Australian Sprint Car Championship over on the V8 Online channel. That's round number 2 from Lanier Speedway. Cameron, are you going to be taking part in that one?
Absolutely, I'll be there, throwing a couple of slide jobs, getting dirty, and trying to get another solid result.
Fantastic. And of course, then on Wednesday, round number 1, it's the Geodesic Racing Sprint Series of Australasia. Everyone is gunning for that title. Ross Rizzo has held it for the last 2 seasons, but can he do it 3 seasons in a row? We'll have to find out, and it is sure to be one of the most hotly contested series in all of iRacing over the next few months. And of course, on Sunday, we head to the International Major Series, the classic British Grand Prix. That is going to be a classic event, excuse the pun. Corey, are you going to be taking part in that one?
Oh, I'm still on the fence about majors, but we definitely at Interlagos for the first round of the Sprint Series Australasia on Wednesday night.
Fantastic. So if you want to catch any of us V8 Online plebs who try to be a good driver, we're really not. We'll be there over on the V8 Online channel. But for the very first broadcast of the iRacing Esports Network from us here at V8 Online, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you next week.